First of all, okay, I loved this game. I really liked it. It was very immersive, and the music always seemed to like start at correct times, the most convenient times. My only gripe with the game, same as everyone else, is the ending. You had so many choices to make and so many investigations to make and conclusions to draw throughout the entire game, only to find out that none of them, absolutely none of them, had anything to do with the outcome. The outcome is always the same, which really sucks compared to the amount of choice that you had. Okay, how the game should have ended, in my opinion, I wanted to make a thing with YouTube annotations where you choose which choices did you make, and you get an ending in my narration. But it would have taken too much time, and I'm too lazy to do it, so I'll just put everything in this video. Okay, so from the start of the game, you should be graded on each time Delilah asks you a question, a personal question more specifically. Did you not answer, or did you avoid or answer something wrongly, which would translate into you either not trusting her. If you like you didn't answer more than 50% of her questions, it means you didn't trust her or you just didn't care about her. So at the end of this scenario, you just never meet Delilah, and you never develop anything from that. Okay, another major thing is in the game you noticed that Delilah have a bit of a temper, like when she told you to deal with the teenagers. Same thing when you found the base and she told the secret base and she told you we should just like set the thing on fire. You should have had a choice. Either you did have a choice on how you dealt with the teenagers. Maybe you would have the developers would have put a more extreme way to deal with them. And in the base, in the secret base, I think you should have had the choice also to listen to Delilah and burn the base. Based on these two choices, um, you would get an ending whether you were manipulated by Delilah or you had your own doubts about her. Okay, another thing is, were you going to get back to your wife or are you going to leave her? Either you had to leave her and stay with Delilah or have a relationship with Delilah, based on what happened during the game. Like, did you trust her? Did you listen to her? Did you treat her well? Maybe you would have developed a relationship with Delilah, or you chose to escape from what awaited you back home, which is your wife and her illness, and instead you stay at Firewatch, either after the firestorm or maybe you stayed during the firestorm and you didn't die, and basically you become the new Ned. Ned is also escaping. Um, in fact, the entire game is about three people escaping their problems. Only you were temporary. Maybe it became permanent. Whether Ned and Delilah stay with you or not would depend on the choices you make. Okay, now we get to the bad endings. So Delilah has a bit of a temper, and she also has a bit of a drinking problem. So you have choices, and you did have choices either to encourage or enable this behavior or not. So based on these choices, you get an outcome of either deepening Delilah's drinking problem or help to prevent it. Couple this with the fact that when you found Brian dead, you also had a choice whether to confront Delilah that she is responsible for this, or she had some hand or in this going on, or not stopping it, or even telling the cops afterwards, and she had started to doubt herself. Or you had the choice to say like, no, this is not your fault, and Ned was a good father, just shit happens. So based on this choice, coupled with the drinking, so if you like told her that yeah, it was your fault that Brian died, you should have intervened a long time ago. At the same time, you encourage her drinking. Maybe she goes at the end of the game. Maybe she gives in into the drinking and maybe drinks herself to death or falls or have an accident from excessive drinking and dies, or at the most extreme scenario, like she commits suicide because she cannot handle the fact that she had a hand in killing Brian. Okay, so the good ending would be that you trusted Delilah throughout the entire game. You never doubted her, even when she asked you where you are, and personal questions and questions that reveal your location. You didn't doubt her once, and you answered her questions. That means you trusted her, and you developed something romantically. And you, by the end of the game, you find Delilah waiting for you, and both of you take the chopper and move home. This is the quote unquote good ending, but the bad side of it is that you abandoned your wife. So, did you make a right choice? Okay, so another ending would be that you doubted Delilah throughout the entire game, which is actually what the developers intended to happen, is that you always question is this person trustable or not, especially after you found Ned's report that you're easily being manipulated and she's a manipulative person. So you doubted her and you just start accusing her that she's working with Ned, or she's doing the whole thing against you, or the base is actually studying people and she's part of the group or supervising the investigation or the study going on. But at the end of the game, you realize, okay, maybe this was all paranoia, and you just lost a good friend or a good lover, if you will. Okay, yet another ending is that you gave in to Delilah's rage requests, like with the teenagers and burning the base. And maybe the developers should have added that you had the choice to like kill Ned, because also Delilah, after she found that Brian died, she said that guy deserves to die. So maybe if you gave in to all three of her rampage requests or rage requests, you will find at the end of the game that she is actually a manipulative person, and she has been manipulating you throughout the entire game, like the what Ned's report said, that you're very easily manipulated, and you go to her house at the end of the game only to find it empty and she left you, and nothing. You face the fact that you've been manipulated and you killed a person and terrorized the teenagers, and burned and started the fire because you burned the base, and either you decide to still go back home or stay in the fire. I think the better option would be you didn't get a choice and you stayed in the fire, either to become the next Delilah for the next ranger to come, or you become the next Ned. Uh, like you move into his den and start escaping your wife and the problems that you did during the summer, or the fire consumes you and you die, and that's basically the worst ending possible. Okay, another ending would trigger if you have listened to Delilah rage requests, like when she told you to terrorize the teenagers and burn the base, but when she asks you to kill Ned, you actually disagree, and you tell her that it was not his fault that Brian died, and you shouldn't kill him. You confront her about her choice, and you have a sort of disagreement and a fight about it. Then, by the end of the game, when you go to her house, you don't find her. You either get the choice either to stay like Ned and escape your wife and the problems and everything that happened with Delilah, or you take the chopper and go back home. Um, when you decide to like take the chopper and go back home, you find out that Delilah has filed a police report against you, and told them about what you did with the teenagers and the fire. Also, here would the only place where the camera would come in place is whether when she asked you to take the picture of the teenagers camp. If you did, then you on your person, you have damning evidence linking you to the crime that happened with the teenagers. Maybe it shouldn't have been said that everything is fine and they are normal. They have should have left it like they are missing. I think that would have been better. Okay, so if you did have the picture, then this is evidence against you, and you go to jail. My last ending would be that you didn't confront or fight with Delilah. At the same time, you didn't encourage or enable her drinking. You also didn't share her romantic sentiments. And by the end of the whole entire game, you tell her, okay, you'd make a good drink, or you should move with your sister, and she chooses either which one you chose, and then you tell Ned that what happened with Brian was an accident, and he was a pressuring father, but that does not make him a murderer, and he moves on, and you go back to your wife.